This will likely come across as a bit of a rant, but I just want to try and get people thinking past the headlines and the punditry that so often accompany these sorts of big issues. Digital currency is a form of currency that's available only in a digital or electronic format. It's also called digital money, electronic money, cyber cash. Digital currencies are currencies that are only accessible with computers or mobile phones because of their nature. Digital currencies have utilities similar to physical currencies. They can be used to purchase goods and pay for services. They can also find restricted use among certain online communities such as gaming sites, gambling portals, or social networks. Central bank digital currency, or CBDC, is a digital form of fiat money that is issued by a central bank. CBDCs are gaining momentum with around 100 countries exploring them at one level or another. The US Treasury has a working group for determining what a CBDC should look like, the so-called digital dollar, in collaboration with the Federal Reserve and other groups, particularly in looking at issues like privacy, national security, and the dollar's role in the global financial system. Remember that at least for the present, the US dollar is still the world's currency for most international transactions. It's still the world's reserve currency. Comparing a digital dollar to an existing digital currency like a Bitcoin, Bitcoin is a decentralized digital currency that is not backed by any government or physical asset, while the digital dollar would be a centralized digital currency that is backed by the US government. The digital dollar would presumably still use a blockchain to register and validate transactions, and would be more stable than Bitcoin, but it would also be more centralized and less anonymous. There are certainly obvious benefits to a government issuing such a digital currency, such as possibly automating the collection of taxes and making it more difficult for criminals to move large sums of money around. However, there are also perhaps less obvious concerns for regular people. Every monetary transaction would be recorded and presumably available to at least the various government departments dealing with finance and criminal activities. While digital currency has the potential to completely change how society thinks about money, there are concerns about using it to control people's spending. Not too long ago, the Canadian Prime Minister Trudeau froze the bank accounts of protesters against the Canadian response to the pandemic. Think how much easier that would have been to implement with some type of Canadian CBDC. As a general rule, most forms of government tend towards implementing more control on their populations rather than less. And even though they may start out with good intentions, it seems like it's easier to slip into overreach. Look at the European Union as a recent example of wacky legislation on all kinds of everyday things like the shape of bananas, for example. While repressive regimes like that of the Chinese Communist Party openly use things like social credit scores to exert control over Chinese citizens, we in the West often implement softer versions of essentially the same thing. In recent years, for example, many companies that proclaim to be free speech platforms routinely deplatform those that raise arguments against the status quo. Think how much further that control could stretch if, for example, you could hinder or even disable a political or cultural enemy's ability to actually pay for food or rent through manipulating digital currency. Now that's power, and it would swing in the direction of the prevailing government's sense of justice or morality. A central bank digital currency can make transferring money easier and lower costs for individuals and businesses. However, new payment services like a digital dollar could also simply recreate the inequalities of existing financial services. If not implemented carefully, digital currency might even exacerbate existing inequalities. While digital currency has the potential to revolutionize the way we think about and deal with money, there are concerns about using it to control people's spending, and policymakers need to deal with many open questions if experiments with CBDCs are to be successful and equitable. Hey, thanks for watching. Check out the links below and hope to see you next time. Bye.